This is still March 19th, 2026. It's about 4:38 right now. When I specify people being dealt with, I mean on a legal basis. They need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. When I say representation that misled me or that was misled and it should be redacted, that's only if it's Anna Toledo. Every other representative that claimed to represent me they falsely represented me. I had no knowledge of them representing me. So that's a big issue. And I guess my father claimed guardianship over me to have these people like Jacqueline Harrington, the attorney. And I understand that they were probably blackmailed in order to continue doing it. That needs to be taken into consideration as well, legally. Everything should be done legally. Again, I grew up on a democratic system. I believe in the process, especially when it's done by people who honor their oaths. When I talk about honoring your oath, again, I did not realize that the rest of other people that were listening were not part of the democratic society. I do not know the legalities in other countries, but I do appreciate them for honoring their oaths in their great respects. I can't judge them for that. But when situations are happening here in the United States, this is on the United States soil, and they have to be handled according to the laws here. They have to be prosecuted based on the laws here. When I stated very quickly that some people were forgiven for some of the things they've done, me as a personal person, if you genuinely did not mean me harm and you did not know that I did not give consent, if that's the genuine situation, then I do forgive you because you didn't know and you were lied to. But if you knew and you still continued to break into my apartment and RAP me, and then record it and then distribute it for profit, you knew. Therefore, you need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Because again, this all happened on American soil, to my knowledge. Who knows? Supposedly I was drugged and taken for months at a time or days at a time on cruises and stuff. I don't know. I don't believe it was me. Because I always had a job, so I always had to be at work. I'm assuming that this is a lot of stuff that has happened to Juliana because she was supplementing her Uber driving with potential things. I don't know. Again, I don't know. However, all the people that are claiming representation of Jacqueline Harrington, which was fudged on the will to look like Jacqueline, they should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Black magic is real. um, Being a targeted individual, you get. One second, there's people hanging out on their phones. Being a targeted individual, you also get. Because we have transmitter and receiver devices that are illegally implanted through medical purposes into our bodies and our minds, we get nudges or we get stimulations that cause behavioral verifications. Like they cause behavioral modifications, and they also cause different behaviors. Excuse me. To be enacted. That's why there are some targeted individuals that will say, I don't remember doing this at all. Because they weren't. They were either under hypnosis, they were under a stimulated device that nullified their observation, their retinal, nullified their audio, and nullified their capacity to comprehend what's going on consciously. These are all in the United Nations US patents. They were all being used on me as well. um, Targeted individuals are still being targeted for this. You know, you could sit here and say that we're indigo children and the federal government was looking out for our best interests, but inevitably they were not. They were looking out for the interest of exploiting us through energy exchange spiritually and through our wealth financially. Hence why they created the birth certificate to be a corporation so that a human could be used however the company felt. The Crown Corporation, Dr. Catherine Horton, she's an MD. Actually, she's a PhD in physics. She's brilliant, and she also talked about how the Crown Corporation used people in specified, aka targeted individuals, for this exact same process. I believe she was representing. This happened to her in 2019. No, 2009. I believe it was 2009. Mine was in 2019. And she, I didn't hear anything of her after she started to connect that the satanic cults, like Starbucks, the imagery that was all through satanic culticism, to show us, hey, look, we have control over you, and there's nothing you can do about it because it's the elites in the shadow government. The elites have gotten up to the FBI level, up to the United Nations level. It's all, everything is, every aspect of not just the United States government, but all governments in all countries up until the United Nations are participants in this behavior. Now, legally, I want to prosecute everybody to the fullest extent of the law. That's why I do not want anyone dead. If somebody tried to kill me, you know, that's a personal feeling that I want, but it's a personal feeling. It doesn't mean that has to come into fruition. However, if I am going to move to England or Ireland or wherever the Harrington royal family bloodline originated, so that I can recolonize it appropriately based on the heritage that was persecuted there, including the Jewish people that were persecuted there by the Judah, Richard Irwin Harrington of Wattsford, then I have to learn the laws. But again, everything that happened to me in the United States has to be based on the laws and regulations of the United States democracy. Whether or not I want somebody to get equivalent exchange is not, it's not for me to specify here, because I do not have that power here. Anything that happens to me if I'm in England, I do have that power. Which is probably why I was sent out of England. Because if anything was done against me, the people would have respected and honored their oaths. And obviously that was something that did not want to be taken into consideration. Sorry, for some reason people want to sit around me. It's like out of all the places they could stop, they have to stop by me. It's fascinating. Always fascinating. I don't know if that's what they do in England or Ireland or Germany. They want to be